What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Over Analysis channel. And today we're talking about the 2026 Buffalo Bills fantasy relevant players and whether or not we are targeting or fading them in our drafts this summer. First player we're going to talk about today is Josh Allen. And with Allen, the issue certainly isn't his talent. It isn't what he can do for your fantasy team on a weekly basis. This is a guy who, 3 of the last 5 years, has finished as the QB1 overall in fantasy. And the 2 years that he didn't finish QB1, he finished as QB2. So the issue with Allen more so is the cost, the level of draft pick that it's going to take to get him on your fantasy team. In most leagues, we're talking about a 3rd round pick. Some leagues, it could be as high as a 2nd rounder. And when you do that, you're paying for Allen's ceiling, you're paying for the consistency, but you're also doing it at the expense of adding a pretty good running back or wide receiver to your roster. So if you're going after Allen, you need to be confident about your ability to hit on a late round running back and wide receiver to make up for what you're passing on in the first couple of rounds. For me, I tend to prefer to wait on quarterback. You look at some of the values that have been there in the last few years, guys like Drake May last year, Jaden Daniels the year before. There's always quarterbacks that far exceed their ADPs, and I just don't like passing up on the higher end running back and wide receiver early in the draft. Next guy we're going to talk about is my primary target from the Buffalo Bills, running back James Cook. And with Cook, we're talking about a guy who in each of the last 3 seasons has finished as an RB1. Cook last season alone finished as an RB1 in 10 of his games. He also brings a good receiving floor. He'll catch around 3 passes per week. And with Cook, the knock on him used to be that there wasn't any consistency with him. If he wasn't hitting on big plays or scoring touchdowns, he wasn't giving you much of a floor. Well, over the last couple of years, that argument is completely out the window now. Ever since the Bills switched to Joe Brady as offensive coordinator, they've made it a point to feature Cook, to go run heavy, and Cook has thrived in that approach. And there's not much reason to think that things are going to change now with Brady as head coach. Cook comes in most drafts right now as RB7, to which I think he's an outstanding pick in the middle of the first round. I'd take him above guys like Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Christian McCaffrey. With 3 of those 4 guys, Taylor, Achane, and Genty, you're talking about guys that play on bad teams, that might have questions at the quarterback position, where they have other questionable like receiving floors. Cook, you've got him playing attached to a great quarterback and a great offense, and there's also no health issues like there would be with McCaffrey. So Cook is a guy that I'm completely comfortable starting out most of my fantasy teams in redraft around with a mid to late first round pick. Next guy we're going to talk about is my primary fade from the Buffalo Bills, which is wide receiver DJ Moore. And Moore last season for the Chicago Bears was very disappointing. He only finished better than a wide receiver 3 in 4 of his games last season. In a Ben Johnson-led offense where there's plenty of excitement, there's plenty of creativity, Moore just wasn't a factor most weeks. He was a guy that occasionally had some spiked weeks, but more often than not, he was losing you your game. And now Moore goes to a situation in Buffalo where the Bills, ever since they got rid of Stephon Diggs, have made it pretty clear that they don't want to feature a wide receiver. They don't want a true wide receiver 1. They want to mix and match different guys, different personnel groupings. They want to be a run-first team. DJ Moore, I think, is going to be very similar to what he was last year. Yes, he's going to occasionally have his spiked weeks, but more often than not, I think he's going to be frustrating. I think it's going to be a committee at wide receiver again. I honestly don't think there's much of a difference between DJ Moore going to Buffalo than there was when Amari Cooper went to Buffalo a couple of years ago. And if you remember that, it was the same type of situation. Cooper would occasionally be involved, occasionally have a spiked week for the Bills, but good luck figuring out when the spiked weeks were going to come. For the rest of the Bills' receiving options, there's really not much there. Khalil Shakir is a guy you could use a late round pick on, but it's a guy with very low upside. Shakir has been a wide receiver 3 each of the last few years, but he's still someone that brings with him a decent floor. He's likely to see 5 to 7 targets in any given week. Josh Allen trusts him, which is huge, but with him, like, he's nothing more than a bye week fill-in or a flex play. He's not a guy with any kind of league-winning upside. Keon Coleman, another one who we just don't need to touch at this point. Second-round pick that has been a failure for each of his first 2 seasons in the league. Skylar Bell is only a guy to target in dynasty leagues. He's not someone that you need to worry about in redraft. And then at the tight end position, you have Dalton Kincaid. And with Kincaid, it's somebody that has been one of the more frustrating tight ends to own in fantasy over the last few years. With Kincaid, you see the flashes, you see potential, you see upside, but the circumstances just don't allow him to truly break out and become a tight end 1 in fantasy. Kincaid barely plays over 50% of the snaps for the Bills. Last year, he only played more than 50% of the snaps in 3 of the Bills' games. He's also got a lingering PCL injury that the Bills have said that they have to be careful about managing. So even though you're going to see the spike weeks from Kincaid here and there, it's just going to be so hard to predict. There are better tight end options, more consistent tight end options in the range that he goes in. I'd rather have Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Chig Okonkwo. These are all guys that I feel carry much better floors than Kincaid. That's going to do it for today. Next time around, we will look at the New England Patriots. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys agree or disagree with my takes, let me know in the comments below, and we will talk to you on the next episode.